have completely gone off the path. I'm somewhere in the middle of Utah wilderness. Good morning and welcome back to the Holiday Road Travel Vlog. Today we're here in Arches National Park and we are doing one of the most well-known and exciting trails in the entire park, which is the Devil's Garden Trail. This trail reaches about 8 miles. It will take us to 7 different arches and go through some pretty crazy terrain. So I'm really excited. Of course, about 2 years ago, I fell in love with hiking after going on the Angel's Landing Trail in Zion, and that experience is what inspired this whole trip. So remember, if you haven't yet, this is in the middle of a giant series of videos we're doing on the American West, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. So keep in mind that the trail does not have a ton of parking. So I got here about 6 in the morning, right as sun was rising, and the parking lot was about half full. So my guess is that by 7:30, that parking lot is going to be completely full. There's not a lot of other options, so make sure you get here early. Another thing to keep in mind is that the trailhead for this is the very, very back of the park. So about 20 miles from the visitor center. It does take about 30 to 35 minutes with no traffic. If you're going in a busier part of the day, it'll take you upwards of an hour to get back here from the entrance of the park. So keep that in mind when planning your timing. First arch on the trail completed. I could be wrong on this, but I think that is what is referred to as tunnel arch. They're kind of in the backside of that rock formation. I've made it to one of the most iconic spots in the entire park, which is the landscape arch behind me. This is the longest arch in North America. The sun's hitting just right as the sun comes up over the valley. It's absolutely amazing. You really have to see it in person. This isn't doing it justice. Once you get past the landscape arch, the trail definitely becomes more rugged. Lots of sand you have to go through, lots of rock scrambling, lots of climbs. Not the easy paved path that it was for that first mile or so. Arch number 4 on our trail today. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, yep, 4. Oh, wow. Look at this. That was worth the hike back here. So you can see Navajo Arch behind me. Super cool. You get to go right underneath it. And it's kind of in the middle of what almost feels like a cave, but really neat. Sun's coming out a little more now, but on the road to arch number 5, which is the partition arch. This may be the best one yet. Look at that view. It's framed perfectly like a picture. told me that you never really see America until you get at least a mile off the nearest road. I think he's right on that because, I mean, this is just awe-inspiring. There's a passage in the Bible where some of the Israelite people, they start calling Jesus king and saying that he's God. And the Pharisees tell him to tell his disciples to shut up, that it's a lie, tell him not to say that. But he responds to them that if they were quiet, the very truth that he is king and that he is God is so prominent that if they were quiet, even the rocks would cry out. Even the stones would shout. I never really understood that passage until today, looking around. And I think that the stones have been speaking all along. And that sometimes we don't listen. But if you look around and you see how amazing these are, they're telling the truth. It's just depending on whether we're listening or not. We're coming up on arch number 6 in the park. Maybe you'd consider it 6 or 7. I don't know, because there's 2 of them, but this one's really cool. It's called the Double O Arch, and it's just that. It's like a double O stacking on top of each other. So there's one more offshoot here called the Dark Angel. We gotta go that way, come back, and then we're heading back a different way down the primitive trail back this way. Which was a little bit more difficult. So the end of the trail is not an arch at all, but a giant rock formation here called Dark Angel. But this is where we kind of turn around, head back. There is half a mile up. There's a different loop, so we'll get different scenery on the way back. But this kind of marks the halfway point of our journey today. Okay, we're more than halfway, but this is where things may get interesting. There's some sections of deep sand. There's some sections of high water. There's a lot of steep areas, rock scrambles, that kind of thing. So we'll see what this has in store, but I've heard many times that this is the part of the trail that's worth it. So even though we're a little tired, we're going back this way. Primitive trail here has been ranked by many websites in the top 10 hikes in the United States, which is part of the reason I had to do it. Also, it's cool because it's a little bit more remote out here. It's a little bit quieter. You can really just enjoy the nature around you. Watch yourself out here, friends. I already took a wrong turn, got a little lost, but I'm back on the correct trail. I don't know where those footprints were going though. So far, lots of these big steps jumping down. So you gotta be willing to do a little sliding or a little jumping, that's for sure. Here's another one right here. You can see really, really steep here. We're gonna go around this way. We're moving the lost count up to 2. I just got lost up on those. I kept going out and there was no dead end. And then I backtracked, realized I missed a little turnoff. The path is not clearly marked. So you just have to remember where you're at, stay alert. And if you go too far, you hit a dead end, just go back and look again. That's what I've done so far and got myself out of 2 pickles. So I'm at a point right now that I don't know if I'm lost or not, but I think I read something online about steep rock sections. I'm thinking this is correct. If not, I'm gonna remember how to backtrack to get out of here just in case. So this just in. Luckily I got my GPS to pull up. I have completely gone off the path. I am somewhere in the middle of Utah wilderness. Yeah, so that's not great. My wife would probably kill me if she knew I was in this situation, which she will when she watches this video. But I think it should be as simple as going back the way we came. Hopefully my GPS works at the trailhead then, and I can find where it goes. Heard something, think it's just a plane or something like that. We're all good. Just gotta get back up that way and we'll be fine, I hope. The fact that I thought this was a trail is a little embarrassing, but I did, and now here we are. All right, after that terrifying little excursion, we're back on track. I'm sure we wasted a lot of time. I about wet myself, but I've found my way out of the Utah wilderness, and we're back on marked trails. So there is one more arch, private arch. I finally found the trail to that. I think we're gonna skip that just because at this point I'm a little low on energy. Want to get back to the parking lot. So we're gonna continue on to the primitive trail. I've gotten lost like 5 times. Thank God my GPS is working. It's the only way I'm gonna get out of here alive. It's nuts. I just keep following these footprints, and they don't leave the trails, and then there's no footprints, and they don't know where I am. And then I jump down on something I can't jump back up on. It's a wild experience out here, guys. Be careful. So after realizing I was lost yet again, a nice couple who together we figured out you had to kind of climb over this giant rock scramble up it and down to the other side. Now we're back on path. The only thing that's saving me here is the small amount of GPS service that I've got, but it's definitely helping when I get to off course. Second half of this trail, much easier. It's gotten to the point where it's actually fairly moderate, and you don't get lost near as easy. So if you're gonna do the arches first and then come back the perimeter loop, the primitive loop, just be aware that the beginning is where it gets real dicey. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel here. We're finally crossing over to finish this amazing 8-mile hike. You can see the difference in the parking lot right now. Completely full. It's about 10 o'clock right now, and probably be pretty hard to get a parking spot at this point. Oh man, well, I am worn out. Hey, it's like I said, just past 10 o'clock, which means this hike took me about 4 hours, but about 45 minutes of that was me being lost. So you should be able to accomplish it in 3 to 4 hours, especially if you stop and take in the scenery. Really cool. Overall, it was not too strenuous, but it was challenging in the maneuvering some of the rock scrambles, and of course staying on path. I got lost many times, so it's probably best to do this one with a buddy. But yeah, definitely worth the experience. One of the coolest things to do here in Arches, we put out a video last week on arches and just some of the stops and drive through and that kind of thing. Again, we're doing a whole series right now of our road trip through the American West, so please make sure you're subscribed and check out all those videos. I promise they're worth it. Later this evening, Deanna may join me to hike the Delicate Arch Trail, which is kind of the most iconic one in the park, so we might put out a video on that. Stay tuned.
There's a little trail marker over the end. You'll see it's got the arrow, so you'll know you're
okay. Thank you. Yeah, I got over there. I didn't know where I was, and finally I climbed to a high spot till I got GPS. I was about a mile off the trail.
Oh wow!
But we made it back, so that's a good thing.